Hi Jess, it's great to see you again. I know things were really difficult with your partner last week. How are you feeling today?
I'm okay, I guess.
You guys, could you explain that further? At our last session, I know your partner had been charged with assault and there was a restraining order put against him. How have you been dealing with that?
I don't know. Things are hard without him. I mean, I know what George does to me isn't right, and it's not fair for our son to be around it either. But it always feels like things are going to change and be better. I hate not being able to be with him, but the police didn't give me a choice about the charges or the restraining order, and I can't really blame them. He hurt me really bad that time.
So what I'm hearing is you're really upset about not being able to be with him, but you understand that the relationship was escalating to more dangerous levels and the police just want you to be safe too. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, I'm glad you're beginning to see the danger of this, and even though you miss him, it's totally normal to miss someone who was a big part of your life. But you've made a lot of progress with understanding the seriousness of the abuse. Why do you think it has been hard for you up until now?
I guess because he always apologizes and cries to me about how it'll never happen again after. I always had this hope that things will be better and we'll be healthy again.
That makes sense. So he would manipulate you into believing that things would change, and then you'd just be stuck and he'd still be hurting you?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it as him manipulating me.
I understand. I'm really sorry this happened to you. What happened this time that made things different?
I guess just because the police were called and they actually arrested him and everything. It made me realize that the police themselves thought that he was enough of a danger to me that he had to be arrested. Kind of clarified the situation for me.
That's very understandable. Since he was manipulating you into believing things would be different, it was hard for you to believe that he could be so much of a threat to you and your son until law enforcement thought it was too.
Yeah, I guess having people who see awful things every day tell me how dangerous he is kind of opened my eyes.
That makes a lot of sense. You've made some really great progress. Do you think you'd be able to follow the conditions of the restraining order if he were to approach you? Do you think you'd be able to call the police and not succumb to his manipulation?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I'd be able to right now, but that doesn't mean I'd be able to in the actual moment. He just has so much power over me.
So, what I'm hearing is you feel strong enough to let go, but unsure as to whether you'll still have that strength if he were to approach you. I understand. I have an exercise that I think would be really great to try, and I can explain it to you, and you can let me know if you would like to try to work through it together. How does that sound?
Okay.
So I have a piece of paper here with 4 sections. Each section is labeled. The first, advantages to change. The second, disadvantages to change, sorry. The third, disadvantages to no change. And the fourth, advantages to no change. We'll go through each section and try to think of something to apply it to your situation. With change meaning leaving the relationship. Does that sound like something you'd want to try?
Yeah, we can try.
Okay, we'll start with the advantages to change section. Can you think of anything we could put there? Try to explain some of the advantages to not staying in the relationship.
Well, I wouldn't be getting attacked verbally and physically all the time. I wouldn't constantly be questioning my worth and having to cover up parts of my body because of fear that people would see bruises. I would also feel less anxious all the time because I wouldn't have to worry that he would someday start abusing our son as well.
Those are some really great advantages to change. So, stepping away from this relationship would not only keep you safe, but also help boost your self-esteem. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
Can you think of any disadvantages?
definitely. I really do love him, and it's hard to get past the thought that I might be able to fix him someday. I feel like he needs someone to be there for him through all of this, and I don't know who he would rely on if not for me. Our son loves him so much too, and I feel like I'm destroying their relationship by leaving. There's also the financial part of it. I don't know if I have what it takes to be a single mom.
Those are some valid concerns, and I can tell you've been thinking about it for a while now. Your financial security does make sense as a big factor, and thinking about it shows how much progress you've made. It seems like the rest of your disadvantages center around love. For George, for your son, and for yourself. You are compassionate for caring so much about how George is feeling through this, even though he's been so unkind to you.
I guess you're right. I've been thinking about how awful and selfish I am for leaving right now, and it's just been hard to look past that and look at all of the terrible things that have happened to bring it to this point.
That makes sense. It doesn't sound like you've had a lot of time to sort through your own emotions through this relationship. Let's switch and take a look at what would be disadvantages to not leaving.
I think I would keep feeling hopeless all the time. I know that nothing changes if nothing changes, and I really have felt scared and unhappy a lot of the time. So not leaving wouldn't do anything to help me along to start thriving and feeling happy. I'm also scared for my son, so I would keep feeling like a bad mom for not giving him a less volatile home.
Those are some good points too. It sounds like you know that you aren't where you want to be right now, and you recognize that staying in this relationship is a factor that might be holding you back from reaching that goal. Is that right?
I think so. I know that feeling this way all the time is not how I'd ever pictured my life, and it's not part of a life I would be proud to live. I guess that when George would promise me he would change, I would try my best to believe him so that I would feel hopeful that it might get better. But I'm not sure if I can keep relying on those promises because they never last and I'm never valued like I want to be.
You're very self-aware for recognizing your own values and goals regarding your relationship as well as your life through this, and for speculating how it might need to change to reach the goals. Let's talk about the last section you filled in. What are some advantages to not staying some advantages to not changing, and instead staying in your relationship?
Well, it seems kind of hard to think of any now that we've been talking about this in detail. I guess I wouldn't have to feel bad about putting distance between my son and his dad, but I think that I feel worse when I'm worried about keeping him safe. If I stayed, I wouldn't have to feel like I was abandoning George when he needed me, but I really think I need to value myself this time because it seems like I can't do both.
It takes a lot of courage to make this decision, and I think that coming up with this list has helped solidify the choice that you already know you need to make.
I think so too. Being able to look back on this might help me to be strong when I'm feeling doubtful about if I did the right thing, because I'll be able to think about how rational I was in making this choice by looking at it from every angle.
Of course, thank you for being so open and trying this exercise. You did the hard part in stepping back and examining your situation.
Thank you for working through it with me. It's always easier said than done, but I feel like I have a better perspective now and I feel more in control of my situation.
Absolutely, you're very welcome. Let's wrap up here for now. You worked hard. I'll see you next week and we can talk about more coping mechanisms for you and your son. Take care.